Hi, Day. Okay, look, the offense that I've taken, to me, I don't consider that offense. If it was something you were saying just to piss me off, I might take it offensively. But I've just taken it as the message that you've given. You did say that I'm being naive and simplistic, and you continue to say. So I'm responding to that. I don't. I if anything's starting to be offensive about it, it's just that uh, you keep saying that, and you bring it back to me like I've falsely taken offense. No, you said the ideas were simplistic and the rest. Okay, and I think you ignore some issues that have been brought up, while you're saying, oh, but there's these other issues. I mean, look, there's hundreds of hours worth of issues to discuss in this topic, and yet you don't necessarily focus on the things that were said and that were pushed and pressed into in these 10-minute videos. Okay. Um, for example, I mean the child. I mean, I used the child example. Obviously, that's a difficult thing and never could be solved because there is no way to replace that. But I also moved on to other examples, didn't I? Didn't I say that also the value of that $1 million car is not the same kind of value as a value of $1 million worth of food in a world where people are starving, and that the money one person might have to spend on this luxury is separate from $1 million that might feed starving people, and the fact that money confounds these two values. The use of the child is just to show, look, there's different kinds of value, and we reduce them down to one. And but that's not the only example. There's other more practical examples. And the point is, which I don't think you've confirmed or denied, that these are fundamentally different kinds of value. The value of food, which can help you survive, is different than the value of a vehicle, which is not just for transportation. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, with wanting $1 million car if you have it to spend. I'm saying that there's a problem in money, uh, making those two equivalent things. Um, Now, you also said I hadn't shown how this problem manifests. Well, again, you're going to talk about these other corruptions that are more important. Well, curing Alzheimer's is more important, but we are allowed to focus. And I did show, I mentioned how this leads to a cognitive situation with humans of wanting to acquire more and more money, even after you're well beyond uh, any need that you could have had to want goods that might have motivated you to get the money in the first place. Um, there are definitely other problems, but can't we focus on one problem? I mean, what do you think about this issue with with the valuation error? I know I do not have to have a solution or even tie that problem to other problems, but I have tied that problem to some other problems, but that's not necessary in order to do the analysis. I mean, the beginning of the analysis, uh, is finding problems so you know what you're trying to solve. And if there's no solution, fine. That's what the process will show. That, oh, there is no solution, or this is the only solution. You say I'm you say I accused you, I think, of not being able to picture another system, and indeed, you say three systems which are totally orthogonal. All of those systems, managed, mixed, or unmanaged, those are orthogonal to the money question because all three of those systems have money in it. And you did say, oh, you would automatically invent money, and I said, well, no. And I think where it shows that you're having problems seeing this focused issue that I've narrowed down to. And don't say, oh, well, then that's too narrow. We got these other problems. Yeah, we could talk about the other problems, but if you want to focus down, then you have to focus down. Look at this barter thing. Now, I'm not saying we could replace all the money with that kind of a system. I believe in mixed solutions in engineering, and this is an element that, yeah, it could be mixed in. But again, it's also just a thought experiment. And if he wrote a program to to uh, to solve the complexity problem of that barter presents, no, you would not have a variable with money in it. You would have a variable that had how many chickens it was and how many pounds of rice it was, and that you would not have money. There would be nothing in that system to to evaluate money. You would not have to make that abstraction. You could avoid that abstraction. Your abstractions would be numbers related to other quantities, ways of measuring, uh, the time it takes and the shipping costs. I mean, you know, you would not have to have money because you would have a currency in that case. Sure, something like a currency, an abstraction, but it would be constructed very differently. It would be like having currency for your goods. So there'd be a variable, you could call it like a currency, but it wouldn't just be five and then some currency value. It would be five, chickens or pounds of rice. And you do seem to have no other abstraction that you can imagine to capture these things. You talk about money as for exchange. I don't understand what's confusing when I say it's about circulation uh, and you say it's about exchange. Well, what is it if you have 1,000 exchanges? It's a circulation of resources. So I don't get that. Now the final thing, I know you know, this isn't as focused again. It's more like a discussion of why we're allowed to focus. But you made a comment in the John Paul Dorn videos, and I want to make sure you don't think, oh, this guy's a loose cannon. He could go off on me like that. Look, everything I said to John Paul Dorn, I pretty much said in previous communications to him, including some private ones, about drama and his tendency to get involved with drama. And then I see him doing it again. So this, not that John Paul Dorn personally saw it coming, but he had the information. This is not, you're not gonna wake up and have a video like that. There's the other thing where I got emotional, but I didn't trash you. I just got emotional about the subject, and I can't say you won't get something surprisingly emotional from me, but you're not just out of the blue gonna get a personal critique like that. Okay, I communicated this with him already, and where it might seem out of the blue to someone else, to the person that is involved. No, these are things we already discussed. I already discussed with John Paul Dorn. He already expressed his desire in these things and getting out of drama, and he's made public videos that he's going to get out of drama, and then once again he chooses that and has a very shallow understanding of it. Okay, so I don't think you have to worry if you are at all worried. But in this case, this video wasn't it, but I would like to focus on something. And in the case of money, I'm talking about the problem of taking everything to this absolute rank of value and the emotional results. The greed in our system, to me, is a systematic result. It's not, oh, it's just human nature. No, there's human nature involved, but the way we tokenize value, I'm saying, has an effect on this result we see where people just want more and more money even when they have a lot. Like Microsoft is an interesting example. One of the first things I ever bought from Microsoft was a thing I think was called a smart card. It gave you an extra 64K of memory, and you could run CP/M, another operating system, on an Apple II. Well, Microsoft had written AppleSoft, the basic in there, and was making programs for Apple IIe's, and yet they had made this card just because it was a cool hacker thing that allowed you to run CP/M, which was an operating system they didn't control, and that's on the way to getting their first billion. After they got their first billion, or I'm just choosing a number, they just wanted more and more and more, and they would, you could never imagine the Microsoft of 1990